Your dog stands up every single time you do, whether you are heading to the kitchen or just stepping into the bathroom. You likely view this as a sign of deep devotion or love, and it feels wonderful because that sense of connection is exactly why many people choose to get a dog in the first place. However, there is a reality that often goes unspoken. In many cases, what you are witnessing is not love, but a form of chronic, exhausting, and invisible anxiety. There is a specific insight in this discussion after which you will never be able to view this constant following in quite the same way. The distinction between "she loves me" and "she cannot cope without me" is not a romantic one. It is a measurable behavioral difference. A dog that tracks your every movement from room to room may be doing so for 6 fundamentally different reasons. Some of these are entirely harmless, while others serve as a signal that you may have been overlooking for a long time. This behavior does not mean you're a bad owner, but it suggests you might be working with an incomplete understanding of your dog's needs. In the wild, a wolf is never truly alone, because a solitary animal separated from the pack is essentially a dead animal. Consequently, a dog's brain is evolutionarily hardwired to perceive separation from the group as a direct threat to life, rather than just a minor inconvenience. The amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for the fight or flight response, activates during separation in much the same way it does during real physical danger. In 2019, researchers from Stockholm University measured cortisol levels in dog saliva immediately following separation from their owners. Even in dogs without a diagnosed anxiety disorder, levels of this stress hormone spiked within the first 30 minutes of being alone. For dogs suffering from hyperattachment, these levels were 2 to 3 times higher than the norm. A dog does not process abstract time the way humans do, so they do not simply think that their owner will return in an hour. Instead, their brain registers that a member of the pack has vanished, which triggers an immediate sense of threat. To manage this, they may begin tracking your every move preventatively, long before an actual separation even occurs. This behavior is often rooted in the ancient pack instinct, as dogs are biologically programmed to keep group members within their line of sight. Millions of years of natural selection have created an animal for whom knowing the location of the alpha is a survival necessity rather than a mere preference. To your dog, you are that alpha, and every time you leave the room, their nervous system flags the movement as a potential loss of their primary reference point. They follow you not necessarily because they want to be near you, but because they simply do not know how to function otherwise. In some instances, you may have unintentionally taught your dog this behavior through conditioned reflexes. Every time you went to the kitchen and provided a treat or headed to the door for a walk, their brain built a clear neural map. In these moments, the dog is not necessarily following you. They are following the anticipation of a positive outcome. This is a classic example of operant conditioning that functions automatically without conscious will from either the dog or the owner. Beyond simple reflexes, there is also the factor of sensory dependence, where a dog perceives you primarily through your unique chemical profile. When you are nearby, they receive a constant stream of information from your breath, hormones, and the micro variations in your scent based on your mood. When you move to another room, this information flow is interrupted, and the dog follows you to restore that vital signal. Consider the case of a 5-year-old golden retriever named Graf, who began following his owner everywhere starting around the age of 3. Previously, he had been content to stay in the living room while she worked, but his behavior shifted toward whining at closed doors and lying across thresholds to prevent them from being shut. His owner initially dismissed this as a midlife crisis, especially since Graf appeared to be physically healthy and well exercised. However, during a routine exam, a veterinarian helped her realize that this behavior began exactly when her husband left for a long-term business trip. The structure of the domestic pack had changed, and Graf reacted by shifting all of his anxiety onto the remaining owner. This was not a sign that he had become more loving, but rather a protective mechanism called compensatory hyperattachment. He had become less stable, and his condition required dedicated work rather than just more affection. Clinical separation anxiety is a serious disorder diagnosed in approximately 8 to 14% of domestic dogs. The key feature that distinguishes it from normal following is that the dog cannot calm down when you are away, often resulting in destructive behavior, howling, or a loss of bladder control. This condition often starts as seemingly harmless following and can progress significantly without proper intervention. In older dogs, following can increase sharply as a symptom of cognitive dysfunction, which is the canine equivalent of dementia. This condition affects 70% of dogs over the age of 15 and 30% of those over 11. As their internal map of the world begins to fade, you become the only stable point in an environment they no longer fully recognize. They hold on to you, quite literally, because you are the only constant remaining in their life. Surprisingly, chronic pain is also a documented reason for a dog to seek constant proximity to their owner. A study from 2020, published in Frontiers in Veterinary Science, found a direct correlation between the intensity of pain and an increase in proximity-seeking behavior. Pain activates the same internal attachment system as fear, prompting a dog with aching joints or other discomfort to seek protection from the leader of the pack. If this following behavior appears suddenly without changes in routine or environment, it is crucial to check the dog's physical health before assuming it is a behavioral issue. Furthermore, constant following can sometimes be a result of learned helplessness caused by hyperprotection. A dog that is never left alone or is immediately comforted at every whine never learns how to regulate its own emotional state. By responding to their every move with attention, you may have unintentionally reinforced their inability to be independent. To better understand your dog, observe whether they stand up the moment you start moving or only after you have actually left the room. The first is anticipatory behavior, showing they are highly sensitive to your cues, while the second is reactive and more indicative of anxiety. If you notice signs of hyper-attachment, start by leaving the room for just 30 seconds and returning without reacting to their attempts to stop you. Gradually increasing these intervals helps teach the dog that separation is safe. You should consult a veterinarian if physical symptoms like tremors or loss of appetite appear suddenly. Professional help from a behaviorist is recommended if the following is accompanied by destruction, lasts over 3 months, or if an elderly dog's behavior changes rapidly. For your dog, this is not just a habit. It is a million-year-old survival system that sees every departure as an open question.